Alright, first things first, I'm going to be taking my lightest concealer. This is the Milani Concealer in the shade 110. I'm going to be spreading this all across my client's eyelids so that the shadows that we apply today can have something to stick to and show up really good. So that's why we're taking a light concealer, so that she has a light base, and the lighter the base, the better the concealer shows up. And you just want to make sure that you really buff that into the lid. And I'm using my Morphe buffing brush. Now I'm taking some of that Airspun translucent powder, and I'm going to take my setting brush by Real Techniques, and I'm just going to press that powder into the lid. A car just rolled by me. I'm sitting outside in my car. But I'm going to take that setting powder and press that into the lids so that my shadows can have something to stick to. I'm going to be taking this dark royal blue, and I'm going to be popping that right in the crease. And I'm using a Crease brush by Morphe, and I will have the exact number in the description. And I just want to pack that dark blue shade on until this shade is really pigmented. And I'm going to speed it up just a tad bit, but I'm basically just packing it on until it's pigmented. And then I did the same thing to the other eye off of camera. Now taking this blending brush by Morphe, I'll be buffing in a light blue so that I can diffuse the dark blue. You want a gradient effect, so that's why we're going from dark blue to light blue. You just want to blend it out until it's really diffused and it looks like it's one. You want that gradient effect, you see? And those shadows that I just used come from the James Charles palette by Morphe. Now I'm taking that same light concealer in the shade 110, and I'm going to use that to cut out my crease. I'm using a concealer brush by Morphe. You just want to take your time when you do this. So I did it in real time, but I kind of chopped it up a bit. So you guys, make sure that you're taking your time. I'm cutting my crease right underneath that dark blue. So you see how you can kind of see the dark blue in the background, then it blends out to the light blue. That's the effect that you want. And we're just going to cut that crease out, taking our time. And you want to make sure that you have a lot of concealer on your brush so that your brush is flat, because the flatter your brush, the easier it is to cut your crease. Now I'm taking that same buffing brush that I used earlier, and I'm going to buff out that concealer. You want to buff it out until the concealer is tacky. Again, I'm going to be taking my setting brush by Real Techniques, and I'm going to set some more Airspun powder on that concealer. Then I'm taking this flat shading brush from Morphe, and I'm going back into the James Charles palette, and I'm taking that white shade, and I'm just putting a little white shadow on the lid. This doesn't have to be as pigmented because I am going to put glitter down on top, but I do want like the inner corner of the lid to be white. So I'm just shading in the front of the lid white, and of course I did it to both sides. And then I'm going into this chocolate bar palette by Too Faced, and I'm taking that silver shade, and I'm just covering the rest of the lid with that silver shadow, since I'm going to be applying a silver glitter. And before I put my glitter on, I'm going to go ahead and do my wing liner, because it's just easier to do if you don't have glitter on. When the glitter is in the way, it's kind of harder to get a very precise wing. I'm just taking my NYX black liner, and I'm just drawing out a wing. If you guys want a tutorial strictly on how I do my wings, let me know in the comments and I'll do that. But yeah, I'm just drawing out a wing before I apply the glitter. And of course, I did the same thing to the other eye off camera. Now I'm going to take my glitter, my silver glitter, which comes from J. LaRue Cosmetics. And this is in the shade Fairy Dust. And I'm going to take that glitter and basically just spread it all over the lid. The glue that I'm using is the Duo Lash Glue, the green one. That's the one that I use. Anytime I use Duo Glue, I use the green one. So I'm using that. And then I'm just using a synthetic flat brush. It's best to use a synthetic brush when doing this, to help me apply the glitter. And then in the inner corner, you really can't see on camera, but that's not glitter. That's actually a pigment from J. LaRue Cosmetics in the shade White Diamonds. And I did that on the inner corner. And then I'm just taking a white liner by NYX as well, and I'm layering the black liner with the white liner to give it more of like a dramatic effect. Then of course you want to pop your lashes on. These lashes are from my collection, Dahriel Barber Cosmetics. I have the link below where you can purchase your lashes, but the lashes can be found on dollhousewear.net. That's my online boutique, and that's where I sell my lashes. And you just want to take your time, making sure that the lashes look neat and nice and that they align with your liner. And after I have the other lash on, I'm about to begin to work on the face. So right now you just see me cleaning the glitter off and the shadows off, because you do want to start with a clean canvas. And I'm also using my mini fan to make sure that that liner and glue is dry. Now for the next two clips, my camera was not focused, but basically what you see me doing is putting on foundation. This is the Milani foundation in the shade 11A. And I'm using my foundation brush by Morphe. And I'm basically just packing foundation on. This is kind of a self-explanatory step. I do put on foundations in other tutorials. It's kind of self-explanatory though. And then I'm taking my concealer brush and I'm taking my Milani concealer in the shade 140. This is about 2 shades lighter than her original skin tone. And I'll be highlighting under her eyes, down the bridge of her nose, the bottom of her chin, well, her chin basically, not the bottom of it, and then like right between the brows. I don't know what that area is called, but you see, this is everywhere that I highlighted. And I'm taking my foundation brush and I'm going to begin to blend that highlight out. Using your foundation brush is a good tip, because everything comes together as one, because you still kind of have that foundation on there while you're blending out your concealer, so it helps the concealer to kind of melt into the foundation. When you blend your concealer out, make sure that you're blending up so that you can have the illusion of a lifted face. Try not to go too light when highlighting, because you want your client to look good and gradient and smooth like butter, and you don't want her to have flashback. So make sure that you're using the correct shades, because sometimes your technique isn't bad, you just don't have the correct shades for your clients. And if you notice, I go between my buffing brush and my foundation brush to blend this out. So that's why I have them both in my hand. You kind of want to switch between the two. The buffing brush when you're trying to get in more precise locations. So now I'm going to be taking my setting brush again, and I'm going to be setting everywhere that I highlighted using the Fenty Beauty translucent powder. This Fenty Beauty is very good and buttery, and it's a good consistency. I highly recommend the Fenty Beauty powders for setting, and also the Laura Mercier. To set the rest of her face, I'm going to be going in with the Fenty Beauty setting powder, but this time in the shade Nutmeg. The shade Nutmeg is closer to her skin tone, so that's why I wanted to set the rest of the face with a different shade. And I'm using my powder brush by Real Techniques. No, my blush brush. It's called a blush brush. Now I'm going in with a little bit of bronzer. This is the Fenty Beauty bronzer in the shade 7. And it's called Coconut Honey or Coconut Baby. But it's the shade 7 for sure. But of course, I have everything listed. But I bronze the cheeks and I bronze the nose, and then I'm going to go in with the blush on top of that. Don't worry if it looks like you have too much on, because you can always diffuse this with your foundation brush. Now, just to make sure that my contour and my blush looks really clean and even, I'm taking a beauty blender and I'm taking that Laura Mercier pressed powder, setting powder in the shade Honey, and I'm cleaning up the cheeks, and I'm also going to clean up the nose. This is going to give us a much cleaner look when we're finished with the contour. Alright, and while that's sitting, I'm going to take my MAC lip liner in the shade Cork. This is a light brown shade, and I'm just going to go ahead and line her lips so that we can begin on the lippy. After I have those lips lined, I'm going to take my Milani liquid lipstick in the shade 1. And this is like a very nude peachy pink color, almost the same color as her lips. And I'm just going to press that in. And then I'm going to take that light Milani concealer in the shade 110 that I use for the base of the eyes. And I'm just going to dab a little of that in her lips just to burn it up a tad bit. I felt it was too dark. And then I'm going in with some regular clear gloss. Alright, and now that the lips are done, I'm just gonna dust that powder off using my foundation brush. Now, to balance out the eyes, I like to apply shadow underneath the eyes as well. So I'm just going in with that dark blue. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. First, I'm using some of my black gel liner, and I put black gel liner underneath her eye. And then I'm going to go in with that dark blue shadow and then the light blue shadow right underneath her eye. So just to be clear, I did the black gel liner, the blue eyeshadow, and then a light blue eyeshadow. Now I'm taking my MAC pressed powder in the shade NW50. No, this is NC50. And I just dabbed that underneath her eyes to give it a little more of a yellowish tone because I felt it was too white. Then I sprayed her face with some all-nighter setting spray, the matte kind, of course. And now I'm taking my Bad Gal Bang mascara by Benefit Cosmetics, and I'm just popping some mascara on her top and bottom lashes. Now I'm taking some more of that J. LaRue Cosmetics, the shade White Diamonds, and I'm just pressing that pigment right in her inner corner to give the look a little more razzle-dazzle. And for the finishing touch, my client did want bottom lashes, so I'm going to be applying 3 bottom lashes to each eye. I take individual lashes. I buy individual lashes from the beauty supply store, and I use those as bottom lashes. And you just want to pop those on really easy. If you guys want a tutorial of me doing bottom lashes, let me know. I am done with my client, and as you guys can see, she was so happy with the finished look. Yeah, I see how the eyes and the nails all come together. Yes, she was going to prom, and her colors were blue and silver. So that show y'all how old this tutorial is, but period, that's the look. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to check back. I will be uploading another tutorial next Wednesday. And also follow me on Instagram at Dahriel Barber Cosmetics. I have everything down in the description below, including the products and tools that I use. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.